I was just like brought to tears. It was a really emotional testimony. And I was like, this story can't be just left in here. Like, can't just, this handful of like 30, 40 people, 20, whatever it was that day, they can't be the only ones to hear it. The story needs to get to the rest of this athletic community, to this school, to this campus community. Like, we need to get this out there. It was just so amazing. And that's where I was like, oh, this is what I can do with this passion that the Lord has put in me and all that He's taught me. Hey, and welcome back to Leave It Better for the final episode of Season 2. I'm Mackenzie Hamilton, and I'm joined by Caitlin Cartwright. If you watched Season 1, she was on the show with her teammate, Kate Maddox, and she's back because we're mixing things up today. Her and I are switching roles, and I'm going to be the guest, and she's going to be asking the questions. So I'm going to hand it over to Caitlin.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for just inviting me back. I've been following the series for 2 seasons now. You've just done a phenomenal job, and I've truly enjoyed just listening, watching everybody, and hearing their testimonies, and just how God has worked in their lives. And just, I'm so honored to be here today. So I guess I just want to start off by asking you, what was the inspiration for starting Leave It Better, and just how did that idea come about?
Well, thank you, first off. And I'll preface my answer with a little background on myself. I just graduated this month from Southern Miss with my broadcast journalism degree. And so I've really seen the Lord work through this show and this year through my passions, which has been so cool. From what you can guess with a broadcast journalism degree, I'm super passionate about writing and interviewing and talking and mainly storytelling. When I was thinking back, funny story, like when you're little and you do the show and tell and everyone shows up with a toy or like a picture of their pet or something, I would show up with a story that I had written, and I would like use my little time to like sit there and read my little like fairy tale to my class. And it was probably really weird, and people probably thought I was weird, but I have just always loved that. I've loved telling stories. And so I've really seen that like passion grow in me throughout my life. And it's really cool to see how the Lord has used that passion with purpose, that He put that in me, and He puts passions in all of us and with purpose, and that He can use those for His kingdom and His glory. And so if I really pinpoint a moment of when this idea of having a podcast and a show for FCA struck, was probably the spring of last year before we got sent home for the pandemic. We were at FCA, and several people were up talking that day. I think there was 3 people sharing, and I know it was like Sarah Preston and Kaylin Ladner, and I think it was TJ Harvey, and it was just such a good day. Like, all 3 of them got up there and shared their testimonies and what they had learned from the Lord recently, and it was so moving. And I remember, I think it was when KK was speaking, I was just like brought to tears. It was a really emotional testimony, and I was like, this story can't be just left in here. Like, can't just, this handful of like 30, 40 people, 20, whatever it was that day, they can't be the only ones to hear it. The story needs to get to the rest of this athletic community, to the school, to this campus community. Like, we need to get this out there. It was just so amazing. And that's where I was like, oh, this is what I can do with this passion that the Lord has put in me and all that He's taught me through getting a degree in this and my experiences doing this with sports and other things in life. I could do a series for FCA. And so when we came back from COVID, I'd like set on it and thought of it throughout that pandemic. And when I came back for the summer, I went to Miss Krista, and I told her about it, and that's where the Lord was so cool with this. She was like, yes, this is an awesome idea. And secondly, her husband Justin, he is amazing at all this camera and editing and lighting and audio. And so the 2 of them have been huge helping hands in putting this together, because he edits the shows, he films them, puts it all together, and then she has helped me come up with ideas of who should be on the show and what we can talk about. And so really couldn't have done it without them, and just everything came together with perfect timing. It's been amazing to see.
Oh, that's so awesome, especially just considering the fact how God has used your writing passion to just kind of use that as your outlet for ministry, here on campus. And so you talked about FCA. So you want to just tell us how you got involved with FCA and how you've been able to stay plugged in over the last couple of years here at USM.
Yes, FCA has been the most impactful organization that I've been a part of in my time here. I've been here for 4 years. I played soccer here for 4 years. I was involved in a sorority and many other things, and just what he's done through FCA has been amazing. I've grown my relationship through him. I've gotten a community of people who are walking through just so many similar paths in life of being a student athlete and dealing with all the college stuff, and I've got friends from it, and then most importantly too, I've gotten mentors from it, like Krista and Justin. I know I'm going to turn to my whole life to get advice and just celebrate victories and all that. They've been a huge part of my life. But yeah, FCA I've been plugged in with, like I said, for about 4 years, and I really came in my freshman year and was just involved, and then my sophomore year I got to share my testimony, which was a huge moment for me because it kind of goes along with my passion for storytelling. Like, I love sharing my testimony, and that's been the cool part about this show, is to share other people's testimonies. I had a couple years ago kind of this misunderstanding of like why we see all these miracles happen in the Bible, and we see all these amazing stories of God intervening and helping people and walking through parts of life with them when they need him. And it's like, why don't we see that anymore? Like, we just read about it. And that was a huge misconception. He does that consistently. He does it in all of us, and if he hasn't done it yet, he will, or maybe you just didn't recognize it. And the thing is, we need to share it. We need to share our testimonies and our stories and what he's done so other people can believe and other people can recognize that he can do that in their lives and turn to him. And that's what I learned through my testimony. And so I've been able to speak at FCA several times, and that's been, as much as I love giving that to other people, it's been a huge thing that's allowed me to grow and recognize what he's done in my life as well.
Yeah, I've only been on campus for 2 years now, so I've been with FCA since I first got here freshman year, and I just absolutely fell in love with it since day one. And I hate, because of COVID, we didn't really get to, just get super personal with all the different sports teams, but that's just so awesome that FCA has definitely just kind of helped you to branch out and hear other people's stories and really get the series started. I just think that's so wonderful. And so I know this show has been a platform for other people to kind of just share their testimonies. So I definitely wanted to give you a chance to kind of open up and tell us the story of Mackenzie and just how God has worked in your life and how he's just shown up for you when you needed him the most.
Yes, thank you. I call like my testimony like the Lord and I's love story, because it really is. If it started when I tell it, it was really about 4 years ago when I was a senior in high school. And if you go back to those 4 years and had told me then that I would have been able to play college soccer and, like I said, be involved in FCA and in a sorority and get to do all these amazing broadcast things that I love, and also get an amazing group of friends and peers, I would have said, like, sign me up. This seems impossible. But that's just how good the Lord is. 4 years ago, I was recovering from an ACL tear in my right knee. I had torn it the winter, spring of my junior year of high school. And when that happened, I was honestly super angry at the Lord. All I wanted to do was play college soccer. I wanted to play college soccer since I was 8 years old. And I felt that happened to me at that time, a major recruiting time when all my friends were committing and teammates were contacting schools and getting seen by them. I was on the sideline and I couldn't play. And so I felt that that was the Lord telling me that that wasn't his plan for me in life. And instead of just pouring into him or trying to hold on to him, I turned away from him. And in kind of an unrational train of thought, it was like, well, if that's not his plan, then I'm going to make it work. I'm gonna do my own thing, and I'm gonna play college soccer. And I know that makes no sense, but that's just where I was at that moment in my life. But in turning away from him, it just was a downward spiral. I was angry and jealous, and I had all this stress of trying to forge my own path and control the things that obviously you can't control, and just going through several other things. It was too much, and so I turned back to him and started reconciling that relationship with him. And I got to play soccer again, healed from my injury, and things were looking up. I was talking to even better schools than I had been before, and so it was like, oh man, like, okay, I see you, Lord, like, this is your plan, so good. And then, I kid you not, a year from when I had originally torn my ACL, I was playing in a game, and something just like popped in my knee. Felt weird. It wasn't anything super like, oh, I tore my ACL again, or nothing like that, but I stepped out because it like scared me. And then the next day I couldn't walk, and it became this cycle of like resting 2 weeks, and then they would throw me out on the field, and I would literally be running for the first 5 minutes, and then I'd find myself on the ground. Like, my knee would just give out on me. And so I went to countless doctors. I was getting MRIs, x-rays, going to rehab, and no one could tell me what was wrong with my knee. And it was just, I was like in this moment of, man, I'm back from where I was a year ago, can't play, and things are even more hopeless than they were before. I'm a senior in high school. I need to decide what I'm doing next year. I want to play college soccer, but I can't even play soccer right now. And in life, I think we have a lot of moments where we look back and we're like, oh, I wish I could just go back and redo this. And I saw that opportunity as, this is like literally the Lord is handing me that opportunity right now to go back and redo what I did wrong. And so instead of running away from him, I turned to him this time, and I poured into his word and Bible plans, and I really, for the first time in my life, got to know him and like his character and how good he is and how faithful he is and how the things that all the things in our life he cares about. He cares about soccer. He cares about sport you play, your happiness. And so I just handed it all over to him, and it was like, Lord, if you want me to play college soccer, that's in your plan for me, great. Like, that's what I want to. But if it's not, like, I trust in you, and I trust that you have good things for me. And at that moment, I felt him tell me that I was going to play college soccer. And I didn't tell anyone at the time because I was like, this is impossible. I had money down at another school to just go there and be a student because it was that late in the game. And I had one more tournament, like a showcase that I had signed up for way back in that fall. And so I went to that, and I strapped on my brace, and my doctor was like, just give it a try. Like, we don't know what's wrong, so you probably can't do anything worse at this moment. And I went out there, and I played all 4 games we had. And I got home that weekend, and I had one email from the University of Southern Mississippi from Coach Mo, and they invited me to their ID camp that weekend. And so shout out to my amazing supportive parents. We packed the car, and my mom and I headed out to Hattiesburg, and I played in that ID camp, and they offered me a spot on the team that weekend. And so it was so amazing. We were blown away by the goodness of the Lord and what he was doing. And then his goodness and his plan continued throughout my freshman year of giving me the opportunity to pursue broadcast journalism because they offer that at the school. And financially, it was a good fit. And I met all these amazing teammates who were leading me towards the Lord to be involved in FCA and church too. And so my relationship continued to grow with him. And then it was just an even bigger, like, wow, how good is the Lord, when that spring of my freshman year, after playing a fall and committing to play college soccer, my knee started having trouble again. It had gone away somehow in the fall. After I committed in that summer, I rehabbed more and it was looking up. But that spring I was having trouble again. And so the trainers here were like, yeah, we need to get an MRI. And from my knee just giving out on me so many times, they saw that my ACL was probably stretched out. That's what they concluded. And my meniscus was torn in 2 places. And so I was like, okay, I really can't. I could play with the ACL because we really don't know what's going on. I've been playing, but 2 meniscus tears, like I need to fix those. So I decided, okay, I'm going to redshirt my sophomore year. Went in and got the surgery, and when they got in there, they saw that my ACL had been completely torn. It was just floating around in there and it was capsulated, so it had been torn for a long time. And that's when I was just like, oh my gosh, the Lord is so good. Like, I committed to play college soccer and played a whole year on a torn ACL. Like, that's all Him. Like, I can't take any credit for that. And that's where it was just like, I can't, like, I only want His plan in my life. Like, I want to give my life to Him, and I need to tell other people of His goodness too. And me making that choice that winter to turn to Him when I was going through trials and a lot of stress and anxiety, that how good it turned out, like, what other way could you want it to be, you know? It was so amazing, and that's why I love sharing my testimony, because it's like, okay, if He did that in my life, He can do so many good things in your life too.
Wow, that is just so powerful. I can't even imagine. I played soccer in high school, but playing with a torn, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. And that is just honestly just so wonderful, because if you think about it, from early on in life, we all have a plan. Like, I'm going to do this when I go to college. I'm going to do this. I'm going to graduate. I want to play this and that. We have this perfectly laid out plan, but we forget that God has a plan, and that's just so wonderful to hear, that even when things got down and you started downing a little bit, God was still able to give you a little bit of what you wanted, and still able to allow you to go and fulfill your dreams of playing soccer. Even though, probably didn't go exactly how you wanted to go, He still gave you that. And so that's just awesome. What would you say that your injuries taught you the most? I think injuries is just one of those things, especially for all athletes here on campus, that it's our biggest hardship. It's really hard to stay positive and really stay in touch with God when you are going through an injury, especially coming off of a season where you're thinking, oh, I've got this in the bag. I'm going to do great. I'm going to get scholarships, or next season I'm going to be even better, set more records. What would you say was the biggest takeaway from either one of your injuries that you had?
Mm-hmm. So after having those 2 ACL tears, so like I said, I played my freshman year, medically redshirted my sophomore year, came back my junior year, and about halfway through our season, I tore my left ACL. And at that moment, I was pretty heartbroken, but I really had this peace about it that, okay, I've been through this before, and through every injury, I've just grown closer to the Lord, and He's taught me so many things, that He'll do that again with this. But I was really, really frustrated and confused. I was like, how am I supposed to share my testimony now? Like, I talk about all this goodness and how You allowed me to commit on a torn ACL and play soccer, and talked about it my sophomore year, like, I'm going to come back, better. And now I was sitting there questioning, like, will I play soccer again? 3 ACL tears, like, they weren't sure if that was going to be a possibility. And it was like, that's a pretty crappy ending to my testimony. Like, and ironically enough, that year I was helping lead a girls' Bible study at Petal High School with their softball team. And the week before I got hurt, I had shared my testimony with them. And so I was like, man, like, I'm going to have to go back there, and they're going to see me, and I'm injured, and I just feel like that testimony's wasted. And so I contacted the FCA leader. It was Miss Stephanie over there. She was helping with it too. And I was like, hey, I want to come in this week and just tell them, like, what happened. And I kind of, like, prepared a little, like, message of, I'm going to still, like, pour into the Lord and just see what he does with this in my life. And I get there, and normally it was a very small Bible study after their practice. It was about 5 girls who regularly showed up, and sometimes there'd be like 6 or 7 of us. I get in there, and it's about 15 girls. It's about a good chunk of their team this time, and they're all sitting there. I'm like, oh, good. Good timing. And I get up there, and I'm like, well, some of you know my testimony, but I was like, I need to kind of recap this now because a lot of you haven't heard it. So I share my testimony again, and all of a sudden I kind of just feel like the Holy Spirit take over, honestly, and I just like go on this speech of, I shared 2 Corinthians 12:9 with them, for when I'm weak, He is strong. And it was just like in that moment, that became like my anthem for me for my rehab. And that in this pit that I'm in, that it doesn't look like I might be able to play soccer again, that it just all this, just heartbreak and everything, that's how the Lord's going to shine through. That He's going to use this injury to glorify Himself. And that as much as I wanted to come back from those previous knee injuries and that season, score the most goals I could and play every minute I could and start, that for some reason, like, that's not how I was going to glorify the Lord most. That it was actually I needed to be injured to glorify Him the most, and I needed my teammates and friends and peers and that Bible study to see me walk through that injury and to cling on to Him and have perseverance and get strength in Him, because in my weakest moment, He was going to shine through, and it was going to be like, okay, that's not her, that's something greater in her, that in these circumstances, He is shining through. And that's what I truly believe happened. I believe some of my teammates and friends got to see that through that injury. And that was what motivated me the whole time. That was my motivation, If myself was motivation, I wouldn't have made it through it. If just getting back to play soccer was motivation, I wouldn't have made it through it. It was Him. It was He was how I made it through it. And in His goodness, I was able to come back from that injury and play this season. And it just, again, He continues to surpass every hope and dream I could have. He just provides so much.
Yes, for when I am weak, He is strong. I think that's just such a word in itself, because it's so easy to praise Him and glorify Him when things are going great, when you're scoring all the goals, when you're getting all the play time and all the accolades. It's so easy, but it's in the moment when those things are taken away from you, how will you respond? And that's what God was trying to do, just trying to see, is she going to keep her faith like she's been practicing all these years in her life? Is her faith going to stay strong? Is she going to hold on? And so, wow, that's just so powerful. And I'm glad to see that, you finally were able to play a little bit senior year, get back out there on the field. I was able to come to a game, and I enjoyed, watching you guys play and just getting to know you through FCA. It just has been awesome. I truly believe that God is working through you and just using you to impact so many people. I know that you have personally been an inspiration to me, just seeing what you've done with the show and seeing you on the field and what your teammates have to say about you. It's just truly phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I have to ask you the famous question, considering all that you have been through with how God has moved in your life on and off the field. How are you leaving it better for your teammates on campus and just here in the Hattiesburg community?
So this show, Leave It Better, is how I want to leave this school and campus and FCA better. It's been such an amazing experience. I can't thank Justin and Krista and all of you who've watched this whole year. I can't thank you guys enough for your support. And with your help, I want to keep it going. And so I'm handing you the show. Exciting news. We will be back in the fall. I am leaving, but Caitlin will be taking over Leave It Better for Season 3, Fall 2021. And I hope that it continues to grow, and I know just the person you are and how wise you are and how the love of the Lord that you have, it's going to continue to make the show better. So I'm so excited to see that and see all the testimonies that get to be shared through it and all the lives that are impacted through it. And so that's how I want to leave it better, is with Leave It Better.
Yes, thank you so much again. You've just been phenomenal, and I know that I've seen what God has done with this show and through you, and so I can only pray and just have the faith that He's going to continue to just use this as a platform to reach the Hattiesburg community, to connect all the athletes together, and just to truly just uplift His word. So I'm excited for Season 3, and I can't wait to see you guys here next fall.